Mita pita. Mita pita. Wanna try this again? Try this again? Nope. It's like, I'm gonna get my pot. I am boycotting you. I am boycotting you. Oh, look. Oh, cutie pie. Oh my gosh, what am I doing on this side? I need to get closer. I need to get closer, but at the same time, I need to make sure that I'm stopping and saying hello to all the kitties who are in between here and there. I hope that Melita stays inside of her pot, because I am not going to not say hi to cats. Okay? Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right, ears were back. Vocal tone was getting a little bit squirrely. Tail was getting a little bit flippy. Tail was getting a little bit flippy. All right. All right. Okay. Oh, hi, fancy people. Yeah, let's just do it. Hi. For those of you that watch the Walker in the Camera webcast before you watch this one, I was touching upon a little bit of a topic near the end of it, but I didn't remember some of the terms for what I was trying to talk about based on some videos I was watching. There's actually he's a university professor over in New York. I can't remember. His name is Jonathan Haidt. H-A-I-D-T. Haidt. I don't know how to pronounce it. But he's like a psychologist, I think a clinical psychology professor. Very smart individual. But he was talking about the nature of groups, and he was talking about it's called like things called motivated reasoning and institutionalized. Starts with a D. Oh crap! I just was remembering it. Oh man. I have to. Dang it. I gotta look it up. Okay, I was able to look it up. The one term was motivated reasoning, and then the other one was institutionalized disconfirmation. Institutionalized disconfirmation. And it was interesting hearing this individual talk, because he was because he was talking about the moral ecology of like groups of individuals, specifically in university settings, and stuff that like trends that we're seeing a lot in kind of our current makeup, our current societal kind of experience. But motivated reasoning is basically the concept, and it was interesting, he was talking about the notion that like the higher your IQ, like the more that you can find yourself engaging in motivated reasoning, especially if you are because like you can gravitate towards kind of groupthink, and you become better at confirming or looking for ways in which to confirm the things that you hold true. So the concepts that you hold true. So it's like if you are a lawyer and you have a certain kind of leaning politically or ideologically, it's like you can eventually become a better arguer, so to speak, for like a specific type of kind of leaning, I guess you could say. Hi, Sugar Pie. Hi, Lay. Hi, Lay. Yeah. Hi, beautiful. How beautiful. And then he talked about the importance of a thing called institutionalized disconfirmation to help mitigate against that. To help mitigate against that phenomenon. Institutionalized disconfirmation. And it's basically the way that science is set up. That science is a way of thinking, and it's a process. Science is a process. It's not a belief system. Science is a process in which to discover truths about things that are happening in our natural world. So if someone has a theory, hi. they have to be exceptionally careful about how they promote that theory and then how they pass it along. You have to make sure that it makes sound, there's like sound reason and logic employed in the formulation of that theory. And then when you publish it, it's like you got to make sure that it's airtight, because it is going to be scrutinized. It is going to be scrutinized by other individuals who are as smart as you, who may have a different take or a different view on things, and they are going to very actively try to poke holes in your idea, as they should, because they want to see if it actually can handle the scrutiny. And if it can, well, then you may have just stumbled upon something that is objectively true. That is institutionalized. I forgot it again. Disconfirmation. Hi, Momo. Hi, Momo. Hi. Now, that's okay for science. That's okay for science. And you can sit there and make the argument, well, that's dealing with like objective truth, and that's dealing with like measurable kind of things, and there is truth to that. You make a valid point. But basically what this guy was saying was that you're seeing instances in which a lot of the stuff that's happening on kind of college campuses all over the like in different places, not everywhere, but in different places, and those are the ones that get attention. This is not happening all over the place, and it's not being felt by everyone. It's a minority of individuals, but it's always like the vocal minority that gets the most attention. But there's a number of different instances where you get these young and educated individuals who they kind of want to live in ideological echo chambers, and then they don't want to endure the scrutiny of institutionalized disconfirmation. Right. They kind of want to exist within spheres of motivated reasoning. Basically, they want to live in echo chambers. They want to live in these kind of bubbles. To the point where they will, and you see this happening a lot, where people will try to actively shut down, where it's not just like, before it used to be like, hey, I'm just going to, there's a speaker that's coming to a campus, they're going to be doing a thing. I'm going to show my disagreement over this individual, but they're still going to be allowed to speak. No, what's happening is that you see a lot of these different people. They come to these places, and they are actively like getting like violence kind of. Legit. They have to. It's like security has to happen, and then they're causing riots and they're burning places down. You saw that stuff happening with certain speakers. They're going to, gosh, what was it, Berkeley, something like that. Now then you might sit there and say just like, yeah, but they're like horrible fascist, alt-right, Nazi pigs, pieces of crap. Like, yeah, okay. I hear what you're saying on certain things, but there's a lot of people who are just kind of more, I guess, right. Like, it's one of those kind of things where you're seeing a lot of things where, sure, there are individuals who are definitely, they can be very offensive, they can be provocateurs, they can flirt with those really nasty kind of fascist elements, sure. But what you're also seeing is basically a lot of people, like if you happen to be just a little bit right of center, then you automatically get lumped in with like just those awful, horrible, terrible, no good, very bad day people and whatnot. And even that, it's like, not only are we going to just show our disagreement over you and your ideology, but we are going to make it so that no one can hear anything. And it's one of those kind of things where like you're seeing so much ideological, I don't know, it's almost like man, the wind was going this way, so when he peed, I got a spritz. I got a spritz. So it's really kind of interesting, some of the stuff that's happening. I do apologize if it's very windy. I'm trying my best to protect the windscreen. I have my Waka on like I did during the webcast, but it's difficult. So it's very interesting. It's almost kind of like this very significant clash of kind of ideals and morals, where, and you see, and this is such a strange thing, but this is me personally, this is how I kind of view things. Like, you see a lot of different things on the identity kind of politics side of things, where they associate more with kind of like, like equality and groupthink and stuff like that, and more of like the emotional elements of some of these kind of political discussions. And sometimes the people on that side of things can become actually a lot more authoritarian and like shutting down of oppositional thought. So a lot of times the people who claim or say that they are the progressive, accepting, open arms, free thinkers are oftentimes the ones who are actually, in my estimation, some of the most closed-minded individuals out there. That's just how I see things. It is. And I think that it's very important, because I think that our college institutions are very... What was that? That was a weird snuffle. Oh, that's because you were doing a stinky face. You were doing a flamin' snuffle. A flamin' chuff. A stinky snuffle. Everyone's just all peeing on stuff. I think that our institutions of higher education and higher learning are very, very important, because they are where our best and our brightest go to really kind of break down and figure out the quandaries of the day. And if we only have like one sort of thought process that feels like they should have the ability to say and do and act and speak, if you only have one side, that is catastrophically dangerous, I believe. It's catastrophically dangerous. You need to have that institutionalized disconfirmation of both kind of like ideals along kind of with those more objective kind of sciences. Hi. Scratching her back. Hi, Phoebe. Look, she's curling her peats. Oh. Now, that's the thing. Like, well, where do you kind of stand, Derek? And it's like, okay, well, you know, it's... there's also... And without getting terribly too, much into it, I'm all over the place. There's a lot of ideas that I have that people would say, like, oh, that's actually very progressive and it's very left-leaning. And then there's other things where people would be like, oh, that's actually very centrist. It's very moderate. There's certain things, especially regarding kind of, my fiscal kind of ideation, and certainly certain things like embracing certain constitutional values that I'm very conservative on. And then there's other things that I'm rather libertarian. So yeah, all over the place. All over the place. But what I see is the emergence of kind of, there's like one kind of like, there's a group of individuals who are very dogmatically kind of propelling their narrative and their way of thinking as like the end-all be-all objective correct way of looking at the world. And they're infiltrating and they're taking over a lot of the very important discourse that should be happening at these institutions. They're making it so that, I mean, even professors who want to kind of foster environments of open discourse, they're afraid to, oftentimes. So, yeah. I think it's very important that you have that balance. You need to have that. And this is also another thing, and this is kind of where like that kind of triggered snowflake kind of stuff comes out, because what happens when you have motivated reasoning, and this is an interesting kind of concept, what happens when you have motivated reasoning and when it kind of invades an institution, and then you start to see the scales tip ideologically one way. When you start to see the scales tip, you start to have people, again, it's like they exist within their own little bubbles, and then they have confirmation bias about, like, well, I feel this way. You too? Oh my gosh, me too. So they live in this, and they live in a thing where they don't ever have any of their morals or their ideals challenged in any way, shape, or form. They don't have any of their ideas held up to the light, held up to any sort of scrutiny. So, once someone does come along, and this is actually an interesting kind of thing, because I do actually believe that sociology is very tied, of course it's tied closely with biology, and it almost kind of mimics like naturalistic forces. I mean, me personally, I'm a meteorologist. Hi! Which means that I have to constantly look at, almost kind of like, you have to look at the atmosphere as a free-floating kind of gas that does behave in almost kind of like fluid and liquid kind of manner. And when you see high pressure buildup over here, that means low pressure is going to develop over here, and there's this very kind of balancing yin and yang kind of effect, and it's based off of particle physics. I believe that ideology and sociology and those types of considerations behave in very much so a similar manner. So what happens is that you see a lot of these, you see basically a tipping point where you see a lot of institutions that do kind of get, I mean, just almost authoritarian in their promulgation of progressiveness. And what happens is that almost naturally, almost like a natural force of nature, you see these other thought processes kind of developing. And then you see these other kind of like major figures kind of building up. It's very interesting, I think. But what I was saying before, my hand was getting a little, I'm just gonna do this because I have to like hold the phone like this so I can protect the waka so it doesn't get so windy. But when you have like when you have large groups of people who have not had their views challenged, they have not, or they have lived within institutions that do not kind of allow for that, then once someone does come along to actually challenge that viewpoint, you're not talking about someone who is just like having to get into like a robust debate. You're talking about people who feel as if their very existence is threatened. And it's like, that's not a healthy way to be able to align yourselves. Like intellectually, that's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. You know, and then it's like you have this like massive divide, or this perception of a divide that takes place, because, you know, perception is reality, and it doesn't serve to do us any good in the long run. But, well, I don't know, maybe sometimes we have to go through these kind of things. That's the other thing too. Sometimes you have to go through tumultuousness. You have to go through kind of like different kind of like awakenings. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, the Renaissance happened, and then there was like different things like the Enlightenment. I mean, you can look at different kind of ideologic kind of like shifting gear shifts, tide shifts throughout history, and they've had very large kind of very large impacts. Like I said, I'm not going to get terribly too far into like my own kind of stuff, but one thing I will say, as far as me personally, this goes into more like fiscal consideration, but I am very much so anti-socialist. I'll just let you know that right now. That is a political ideology that has led to the deaths of about 100 million people within the 20th century. And it is something that I am very much so opposed. You want to know a little bit about me? Yeah, there you go. There's a tidbit. So whenever I see one of those Che Guevara shirts, I mean, honestly, I'm just like, ugh, I really am. People want to sit there and say that, oh, well, so you're against community, or you're against collectivism, and you're against people, and it's like, no, I'm not against people. But I think that there are certain, again, almost like laws of nature things that happen when those types of institutions try to get put forward, and it oftentimes leads to bad things happening to citizens, to people. So yeah, we can get into that a little bit more robustly another day, if you'd like. Oh boy, I got all sorts of things I can talk about as far as that's concerned. Whew! But, yeah. Anywho, I hope that this conversation didn't trigger too many of you. But I think that it's important to be able to have conversations. I think it is. And if you don't agree with me on certain things, then fine, say that. Like, and you can even say like what it is that you don't agree with me about. I wouldn't mind hearing from you. That's fine. That's fine. A lot of this stuff is stuff that, you know, I try to always internalize, and I try to be very considerate of, and I try to just be, I don't know, I try to be as reasoned as possible with morality, because I think that it's very important for people to really scrutinize their own personal sense of morality and ideology. I think that's like, and I'm talking about the fundamental elements of it, you know, not simply just kind of saying just like, oh, well, I'm a this or I'm a that politically, I don't know. I think it's very important. Who is you? Anyway, yeah, that's all I got for now. That's all I got for now. So, anywho, I will talk at you folks later. All right, bye-bye.